Check this.
Hey, hello everybody, and welcome on the first in the series on the Fly's Power Pitches, a series where we will be discussing power training based cycling concepts. And today we'll start off with the key one, which is actually FTP. So FTP stands for Functional Threshold Power. And to be able to determine your FTP, you're going to need a power-enabled crank or a power meter, or alternatively, a smart training from Tax, Elite, or Wahoo, which you use to connect to Zwift, for example. That's also possible to do an FTP test on that. So FTP is going to be a very important point on your critical power curve, which basically sets out all of the different powers you can put out from 0 seconds to infinity. And FTP will be a line that actually approaches the curve when it flattens off to show you which kind of power you can expect to keep for a prolonged period of time as long as you eat and drink enough. So how are we going to go about determining your FTP? Well, you can either do a field test, a proper warm-up, and then the actual FTP test in the outdoors on your own bike with your power meter, or you can use one of the built-in Zwift short or long FTP tests. And what you're actually going to do after the warm-up is a 20-minute time trial, which you're going to try to execute as flat as possible. What do I mean with that? Your starting power and your end power and everything in the middle should be as constant as possible. This might require a bit of trial and error in the beginning, but that's really key to do a proper test. And after you've done this test, you're going to multiply that by 95%, and that's going to yield your actual FTP value in watts. Now, why do we multiply it by 95%? Well, actually, it's more of a proxy to see what your power would be on a 60-minute or longer test. And the reason we don't do an actual 60-minute test is because it has shown that this can be a serious strain on the body, and it can also be quite difficult to keep on motivating for a 60-minute test, which is quite long. So hence the test 20 minutes, and scientific research has shown that multiplying that by 95% is a very good proxy for really determining your power that you can sustain throughout a prolonged period of time. Now, FTP will be a driving factor for other power-based metrics such as TSS, training stress score, intensity factor, IF, or variability index, amongst, to name only a few already. And we'll be doing a little bit of a video on each of these ones at a later stage in this series. Now, another thing, if you divide your FTP in absolute watts by your weight, you get your relative power, which is expressed in watt per kilo. So why is it important to look at both the absolute value and the relative power? Well, if you have a high FTP in an absolute value, for example, you are able for 20 minutes to do 350, 400, 450 watts. That probably means that you are going to be a quite good time trialist. If you also have a low body weight and you divide your FTP by your body weight and you come to a value of 4, 4.5, 5, 6 in case you're a pro watts per kilo, that probably means that you're going to be a very good climber and can expect to do a good climbing time on, for example, Mont Ventoux. So it's important that you test your FTP every 4 to 6 weeks so that you keep it up to date, because else all of your other power-based metrics will not have the right value if you don't have the right FTP, and you might be training in the wrong way. So test this quite often, either on a field test or on Zwift, to have a good indication of where your form is. So in that way, you can track your progress. And that's it for FTP. So that's the first in this power pitches. I would say keep on riding, keep on training, and talk to you all on the next one. Bye.